Are you tired of quarantine? Are you ready for some real lightsaber fighting? Then don't go anywhere because the Lightspeed Saber Rogue series is starting right now. Hi, and welcome to the Lightspeed Saber Rogue series, the show where we pit top Lightspeed Saber fencers in the fight of their lives. I'm Brandon Neese.
And I'm David Walker.
Lightspeed Saber fencing is a unique take on both fencing and the lightsaber.
Yes, one of our main goals here is to try to simulate what it would actually be like to fight with a plasma-based weapon where even a single touch can have deadly consequences. In addition, we also like to try to minimize the amount of gear that our fighters have to wear while still maintaining a large degree of safety in order to allow our fighters an unprecedented amount of freedom of motion and freedom of movement.
And that is why we at Lightspeed Saber League say that we are the world's fastest light-based fencing. If you'd like to learn about becoming a Lightspeed Saber fencer, check out our website at lightspeedsaber.com.
And speaking of fighters, let's meet ours for tonight.
Hi everyone, this is Kang Snow for the Lightspeed Saber Rogue series, and I have with me today Jamar Johnson from Lightspeed Saber Irvine. So what did you do for exercise or sport before Lightspeed Saber though?
I've always been an athlete, never really active. I did track and wrestling. There's something about weapon combat that really draws you in. I realized I'm more of a bobbled fighter. There's a lot of using the enemy's style against them. More aggressive, but still very controlled.
You are scheduled to compete against Sean Holtzman. How would you describe Sean's style?
Sean is very calculated. He comes in pretty slow. He's not an assertive fighter, but he knows exactly where he wants to put his blade. He comes in at very odd angles.
You guys, I believe, last fought at Engage 2 in February, just before the pandemic hit. And our records show that that was a very, very close matchup. I believe you lost by just a single point. Could you tell us a little bit about that fight?
So the fight at Engage 2 was very interesting. It was definitely an environment that I think neither one of us was used to. But he definitely got the upper hand and he was very comfortable. And he snuck out the win, and I give him all the props for it. During this fight, I'm definitely going to come in and fight my fight. I'm definitely going to try to keep him off balance and see if all of this additional training that I've been doing has been put to good use. I'm totally going to get him back for Engage 2 and show him that, you know, it was a fluke. It was a bad day. You know, he should enjoy it while it lasts.
Hi, I am Sean Holtzman. I am a member of Lightspeed Base Los Angeles Crate Base, and I'm also the director of Southern California. I have a wide range of experience in multiple hand-to-hand martial arts. I don't come from just a blade background or a fencing style background. I come from such a variety that I'm throwing in so many different styles of thinking and movement that I try and change up a lot. Moving into my history with Lightspeed, I found the group through the head of Lightsabers LA back in 2016. I just moved down here and was looking for cool groups to hit up, and he forwarded me to a group in Los Angeles, and went one practice and fell in love and have been here ever since. This weekend, I am slated to fight Jamar Johnson. He is an extremely agile fighter. The last time I fought Jamar, we had a really grueling fight where Jamar took a fairly early lead. I really had to change up everything, and I had to push myself to try and use his own style against him, because he was so ready to be fighting someone of a different style of his. And it certainly threw him for a loop and allowed me just enough time to slowly whittle my way back.
So we did in fact interview Jamar already, and he stated that he was definitely going to get payback against you. And he said that you should enjoy your lead while it lasts. Could you please tell us what you have to say to him in response?
I mean, if I've already had to make him work that hard, I can say I've already won in some regards. I hope to have a great fight with him.
Okay, Sean, thank you very, very much for talking to us, and we'll talk to you after the fight.
Awesome. Thank you.
Now, before we head over to the fight, let's go over the rules and format of the Lightspeed Saber Rogue series. This fight will be a 45-point marathon matchup made up of 3 periods. Each period ends when the first fencer reaches 15, 30, or 45 points, or after 3 minutes, whichever comes first. In Lightspeed Saber fencing, the entire body is a valid target, the only exception being the groin. The weapon itself is a valid target. First hits are worth 1 point. Clean hits are worth 2 points. Headshots are also worth 2 points. Defenses are worth 3 points. Please note, stabbing attacks or otherwise threatening the opponent with the tip of the weapon is unsafe and illegal. Only swinging attacks are allowed. And now let's head over to the fight. Our head referee for this evening is Kang Snow, with a secondary referee as Patricia Baller. On the right-hand side, we've got Jamar Johnson. He looks to have a blue lightsaber. On the left-hand side, we see Sean Holtzman with a red lightsaber.
Jamar is also in blue. Do not know what color Sean is in. He is slightly off frame at the moment, but hopefully they will merge in once we're going. All right, let's see how the first exchange is going. And Sean is in red, so we've got ourselves a red versus blue, the classic conundrum fight going on here. So both fighters kind of feeling each other out at the start here.
Yeah, Jamar is really utilizing some aggressive offense to get right in there.
Both fighters are trying to strive for that middle there. Sean kind of wants it there to keep himself open so he has room to move around, and Jamar wants to try to limit Sean's motion so he can utilize his explosive power to jump out there. We kind of have a nice little exchange of blows here, each one kind of feeling each other out, and yeah, it's kind of just running into each other there. Looks like Jamar
tried to make that defense, but just couldn't get there in time. Johnson seems to have gotten that point.
Here we go. Looks like there's some weird noise going on in the show there. Looks like the timer is happening. That point is going to be invalidated, and they're just going to go fight again. Okay, looks like this is as you can see here, before we tap in here, we want to have a nice little salute so that we know that everyone's ready to go. Nice China sportsmanship going on there. So as you can see, Jamar kind of snuck out there and tried to sneak in with a little hand pick there. Don't know if he's going to get points for that or not. Looks like. Okay, looks like that was a point.
Saw that.
All right, so next round is going on here. So now Sean is taking that middle ground. Jamar kind of backing up there, but as you can see, he backs up, lures Sean in, and then explodes out.
Jamar's speed has really been getting Sean a little bit discombobulated, it seems. He's sneaking in, hitting some of those blocks before Sean's able to fully get them formed.
But looks like there was no points awarded for the last one, so the referees must have seen something that we could not see. It looks like we have an equipment failure going on here. So the fighter's just going to take a moment, replace the saber, and then we'll start things back up again.
So far, Johnson leads with 5 points to Holtzman's 0. So Sean really has to up his offensive game if he's going to be able to score any points against Johnson.
Like Sean wants to try to utilize his varying attacking angles there, and the best way to do that there is when Jamar is jumping in at him, because then Jamar is committed to an attack, so if he can sidestep and then attack from a weird angle, he's going to be able to get those points.
Right, and especially with that defensive bonus, if Sean is able to come in there and get those defensive bonuses, he can fly up the scoreboard.
All right, let's see here. Looks like we had another quick little exchange between the two there. Looks like Sean managed to come out on top this time here. So as you can see, he managed to pull in the... Yeah, so he managed to pull in the defensive there and then graze the arm by the looks of it. Ooh, nice clash there. Looks like everything is just kind of messy there, so it's going to let him keep fighting.
Again, Johnson was able to get past that defense and really sneak a landing onto that elbow, it looks like.
Yeah, so again, you can see Jamar there. He's trying to like post up in the center there. He's going to post back a little bit far from Sean there, and then he's just going to burst his way in. And Sean is just kind of trying to close that distance without giving Jamar that opportunity to burst in there. So Sean's still trying to do like deflections and all that kind of stuff there, but Jamar is just managing to sneak the blade in there a little bit faster than Sean can deal with, and getting those early points. Here we go again. Both fighters kind of jumping out there. Sean now trying to counter Jamar's charge with one of his own there, so they're hoping to change the point of impact to catch Jamar off guard. Ooh, Jamar there testing his range and then just jumps in and takes the head.
Yes, but if you notice, Holtzman got that hand just right about that same time, so the refs were able to throw that points out.
Ooh, nice swing by Sean there, managing to get away safety before Jamar can come in. Now Jamar, though, is pushing Sean back into that corner there. So once Sean has nowhere to go, he's just got to kind of attack back. But it looks like Jamar managed to get the point in there.
Yes, okay. Then we're going to call defense for white. That's 3 points. So we're
All right, what's going
on? On guard. Ready?
All right, so it's be interesting to see how Sean's going to adapt to this here. He's still trying to deal with Jamar's explosive power here, still trying to get used to that timing. So hopefully as this match goes on, Sean's timing will increase. He'll learn Jamar's pattern and be able to get those blocks that are currently sneaking in there.
Well, and we're very close to the end of our first round. If you notice, Johnson has 13 points. The whole
Yeah, Johnson with
3.
the early
So if
lead.
Holtzman isn't able to...
On the head.
Oh, there we go. That was a nice hit to the chest, it looks like, with possibly a defensive bonus in there.
Maybe. No, it looks like they didn't get it because it looked like it was more of a failed hook attempt rather than some kind of defensive motion. Ooh, I think Jamar managed to sneak that one in there again, just launching himself in there and just winning that arms race, like winning that speed race there. Just getting in there first. All right, Jamar still claiming ownership of that center. Sean still has given up trying to move to that center point there. Instead, is just content to live in his like quarter of the ring. Seems like a weird move to me. I'd want to try to rob Jamar of his space and limit his attack options rather than giving him the majority of the ring to work with.
At the end of the first period. 2-minute break, guys.
Oh, sneaking in with just a light hit to the hand.
All right, and that'll bring us to the end of the first period here.
Now, we had a really impressive showing from Johnson coming in there hot with some really aggressive assaults, just sneaking past some of Holtzman's defenses.
Yeah, Sean's definitely in his learning phase of this fight right now there because he tries to utilize a lot of weird angles and a lot of odd timings. That means he's kind of dependent on learning his opponent's timings. As you can see with a lot of these exchanges here, Sean is getting his blade into position, but just a fraction of a second too late, or he's not quite moving it out of the way in time, which just allows Jamar to sneak in with those points and just start racking them up. But as this fight goes on, I imagine Sean's going to learn that timing, and you're going to see that distance getting more and more and more. Yeah, another thing that I think we're going to want to see from Sean here is going to want to start to try to own that center of the ring a little bit right now. He's giving Jamar a lot of space to work with. When you're dealing with someone who's really good with mobility, you don't want to give them room. Especially with Jamar's explosive power, you don't want him to have that distance from you. You want to kind of confine him so that you're not playing his game. He has to play your game.
It'll be, yeah, exactly what you're saying is it'd be really interesting to see how this fight continues and see if Sean's able to really learn his opponent or if Jamar's going to continue with that aggressive nature.
All right, and it looks like the break's just about wrapping up, so let's go back to the action.
On guard.
It looks like Holtzman and Johnson did switch sides of the field, so it should be interesting to see if that changes things up.
And Sean coming out there, grabbing that center ground there, restricting Jamar's motion. And looks like there was a little bit of contact there, but no points awarded. So Sean there taking that early thing, trying to restrict Jamar's motion, keeping him out, boxing him into his corner of the ring.
Nice. You can definitely tell he has learned from his opponent, knowing that Jamar is coming in super hot.
Ooh, Jamar, though, managing to pull just to the side there and get that point, coming down, sliding down the side of the blade and hitting into the hand. All right, and again, that's not the clash between the two there. So I'd like to see Sean kind of pull himself back a little bit from here. He seems to just be continuing that kind of like aggressive posturing. He wants to see him like post up in the middle of the ring there, but then like kind of pull himself back, maybe throw a couple feints in there, try to get Jamar to, you know, commit to an attack.
Right. And we see a nice clean hit to the hand from Jamar,
Yeah.
earning him another 2 points.
Yeah, it was a wonderful hand pick there by Jamar. Sean kind of like lunged in there, tried to close that distance using his superior range, but Jamar just saw it coming and just took the hand clean down. And that Sean, once again, letting himself get kind of backed into the corner there, letting Jamar's explosive power rush in there. Looks like it's going to be an indirect. But looks like we're getting that one thrown out. All right, but yeah, looks like Sean's taking a moment here. He's thought about what he needs to do, and now he's starting to put that game plan into action here. It's interesting to see how it works out and how Jamar is going to respond to this here.
Oh, we see a nice lunge, but no points awarded at that point.
Yeah, so Jamar there kind of throwing a bit of a feint in there. He sees Sean kind of come in there. I'd like to see the opposite of that go down there. I'd like to see Sean start throwing those feints in there, try to get Jamar to commit to his explosive strike, and then take it down. Ooh,
Oh,
nice.
nice hit to the head.
Yeah, Jamar there kind of pulls a little short there, but then manages to sneak it
Oh.
in there. But Sean flicks up into the hand. It's going to be interesting to see how that's going to play out. Looks like it's getting thrown out.
Yeah, both blades almost hit simultaneous, so it's good that the judges were able to see that.
All right. Jamar now kind of changing it up a little bit. Looks like he's just taking some more probing actions now, trying to see what Sean's going to do, slowing it down a little bit there. It's a good move by Jamar. If your opponent's used to you going in gear, you know, in top gear, if you slow that down, that's going to throw them off because they're going to start to react a lot faster, giving you a little bit more time to like adjust your swing and pick off where they are.
Oh, a very nice hit to the hand from Holtzman.
Yeah.
Really just picking off Jamar's.
All right. Jamar, again, just kind of posting up in the center there and just waiting to see what's going on there. And ooh, nice feint to a headshot by Jamar there. Kind of drawing Sean out into a strike to move his blade out of the way and expose his head.
Well, and Sean committed to that float for sure, trying to jump over Jamar's blade, but it just did not land due to the fainting nature.
Oof, a lot of feints there actually, like 2 or 3 feints in a row. And it looks like Sean was the first one to commit, and Jamar managed to land the strike. And looks like Holtzman got the first point though, so points to Sean.
Nice. Holtzman slowly starting to gain on the leaderboard, but Jamar coming in there quick with another clean hit.
Well, that's the other side. Once you go down a gear, you have a gear to go back up into, and that's what you're seeing right there. Jamar's been kind of slow playing this a little bit there, right? You know, getting into a lot more drawn out exchanges, and now he can just pull into his reserve again and just blast out and start taking those quick points back.
Right. So far, Johnson is leading 20 points to Holtzman's 8.
All right. Here we go. So Sean still kind of trailing going into nearing the end of the second period here.
Oh, Holtzman coming in with a clean hit right there to the hand.
Nice undercut by Sean there. Managed to turn a feint into an actual strike. Right there. Oof. Nice dodge, but does not look like he gets far enough out of the way and managed to get... Yeah, Jamar managed to pull in the hit.
I gave him an indirect point as he kind of slid down the blade there.
No, it looks like he just pulled it back and finished it up there. But referees will have the final say on this, and they probably have a better sense of this. So. Ooh, nice dodge by Jamar there. Jamar keeping his distance. You know, he knows his range. He knows his opponent's range. He knows where to keep himself to be just outside of his opponent's range, so he can burst into it. All right.
Well,
So
let's see what
happened here. So there's some confusion on the referee's side here. So let's see. So Jamar, you see Jamar kind of pulls that a little bit short there, draws out the attack from Sean, and then he resets himself, and then he lunges in here and aims for the hand and takes the hilt.
Hits that hilt.
Yeah, see, that just showcases exactly what I was saying right there, where he kind of like feints into that thing, gets Sean to commit to putting himself into his range, and then he explodes out and just takes the hit, takes the point.
And Sean didn't seem to be able to get out of range fast enough before Johnson was able to really come in.
Oh, and we have another one here. It looks like, again, another one of those situations here where we had Jamar kind of bait an attack. Sean tried to counter that attack, and then Jamar followed it up with a finalized attack there. So a nice probing strike, but Jamar managed to pull himself back. He resets himself, and then he lunges in deep, and Sean manages to deflect it out of the way this time.
Now Sean coming in with a slip step right there, pulling his leg out of the way of his opponent's blade, really helping to defend. But it didn't.
Yeah, not quite there. And ooh, Sean coming in close to the head there. It'd be interesting to see how this one plays out for the points. All right, so it looks like Jamar. Yeah, Jamar got the points there because he got that leg hit first before the follow-up attack on the neck. Jamar. Ooh, nice.
Oh, very nice lunge in.
Yep, Jamar again kept trying to do those feinting strikes there, and now Sean just finally managed to get that range just right and dive in there and get that head strike. Catching up the range here. Now Sean switching over to a two-handed grip here, so he's trying to get a little bit more rigidity out of his defenses there to try to deflect that blade.
Well, and with a fighter like Johnson, it's very useful in this fight because Johnson is always one-handed because of his shorter Tano blade, or Tano hilt.
Oh, there we go. Looks like he managed to dive in there and managed to just sneak his way around there. Oh, and he followed it up anyway. So there you go. Just shows you want to have that persistence there. If you're not sure you hit, just follow it up.
Keep going. It looks like Johnson's at 27 points with Holtzman following at 13.
Yep, closing in on the end of period 2 here. So Jamar is mixing up his strikes now, mixing up his beats here, and Sean's having a little bit of issue learning those mix-ups.
Right, taking it right down in the gut.
Yeah, it gives Jamar just that little bit of an edge there, because Jamar is still controlling the pace of this fight here. This fight here, which is forcing Sean to be a little bit more reactive in nature.
And it looks like we have another indirect hit from Johnson. And that takes us to 30 points and the end of this leg. I think Jamar was really smart in this leg of kind of shifting how he was fighting, right? Whereas the first round, he really came in explosive, whereas the second one, he was definitely hanging back. And for an opponent like Sean, who's trying to read and feel out how the fight is going to go, it totally switches gears from an offensive to defensive standpoint. And that really played in Jamar's favor.
Yeah, at the start of this round, though, Sean definitely showed the same thought process that we were looking at there. He started to take control of the center part of the ring there, kind of like limit Jamar's motion in there. But then when Jamar started mixing it up there, he just started giving up that ring again, and you really want to make sure you're owning that center ground. You want to make sure that that's where you're standing, that's where you're staying, to just limit Jamar's options. Yes, and it looks like the fighters are just about wrapping up again, so let's go back to the action. And the fighters have once again switched sides here, so now Jamar is back on the right side of the screen with Sean being on the left. Luckily, their colors are still the same, so this makes this a lot easier on us. All right, so Sean, again, getting out there, restricting Jamar's motion, keeping that center ground there, but then quickly backs up. Oof, nice dodging there by Sean, but Jamar...
That's impressive defensive work on both sides with that exchange.
Yeah, it looks like Sean managed to sneak in the first point there. So you can see Sean kind of backing up there, luring Jamar in, trying to get him to just slightly overcommit at a certain point and then taking advantage of it. Oof, it looks like he managed to sneak it in before the attack, though. Ooh, nice. Nice lunge by Sean there, but Jamar manages to read it and keeps his distance. Both fighters here kind of still feeling each other out, and still getting the sense of each other. They both know that each one's switching it up here, so that's very important. They're going to have to learn and try something new all the time.
Looks like both referees saw something slightly different.
All right, we have Jamar kind of sneaking in there. Ooh, nice.
But if you notice, Holtzman
Jamar
came and seems to have hit the leg a little bit as well. And that got him that extra point.
Nice.
First.
There we go. Jamar maybe trying to push it a little bit too much here. Maybe growing a little impatient with this here. He seems to be a little bit more aggressive this round than last. Ooh, nice hit though. Managed to sneak around that blade and just come in on that shoulder and hand. Sean, though, retaliates quickly with a nice lunge of his own, but looks like Jamar read that and managed to sneak it in first. Let's see what the replay says about this. So you can see Sean is now taking the initial lead. He's going to do a quick jump out here, and ooh, Jamar manages to sneak it in there first. It looks like that might be a headshot as well.
Yeah, but both players are fighting very aggressively this round, so it's interesting to see how many clashes that they are actually having. One just barely hitting before the other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It looks like Johnson got...
Oh, sorry. No.
I said it looks like Johnson got those 2 points for a clean hit.
Nice. Yeah. So Sean's got that ground to make up there, so he's probably trying to get those quick points there. He's just trying to sneak in those like 1 and 2s just by getting those clean attacks there. And Jamar is just probably trying to bring this home.
We see a nice pullback of his saber so that he can basically bait Jamar out and take him out on the arm.
Yep, nice. Nice action there by Sean. Jamar just not prepared for that and just took the attack to the hand. There we go.
These rounds are definitely speeding up compared to the first two. Both fighters seem to be very anxious to get some
nice exchange there. Jamar with some beautiful blocks on his retreating steps there. But Sean with the great follow-ups as well, just kind of bringing up those moves there. So Sean, oof, looks like he managed to sneak in on the undercut there. Very nice by Jamar. Great exchange. All right. So again, Sean's still kind of relying on that downward kind of guard thing there. So while it will knock that out of the way, it unfortunately keeps your hand relatively exposed, which appears to be what Jamar is relying on throughout this entire fight. All of his guards are exposing his hand, as you can see from where he holds it. He's got the blade twisted down and his hand up, and you see Jamar just coming down on top there. So ideally what Sean is looking for there to try to grab that blade and roll it out of the way with that, or to try to like hit it off to the side so it slides down. But Jamar is managing to read these and just readjust his angle just a little bit so he comes down on that exposed hand.
I mean, Sean has quite a bit of ground to make up. We have a 16-point lead currently.
All right, another little clash between the two here. Looks like Jamar misread his range a little bit there. Oh, no, looks like that one landed. All right. Jamar he holds that extra gear back and then just can kind of like pop it out.
The explosiveness.
All right, so again, Sean kind of like holding his blade down there, which again, kind of inviting Jamar in to try to pull those explosive hits towards the head, and then he's going to hope to bat it out of the way and then strike it down. But Jamar is just not having that. He's just going to sit back there and be like, nah, you're coming to me.
Right, Jamar is definitely reading the range really well. Sean is trying to kind of bait him out to get closer and closer, but Johnson's just not giving it to him.
No. All right. So now Sean though he's definitely mixing it up. He's definitely trying things out here, which is what you've got to do when you're down like this. You can't just keep doing the same thing, otherwise it's the same result going to happen here. So mixing it up like he's doing is very good. So as you can see, there's Jamar though. Oof. Jamar there again just kicked it up in that gear right there. Sean was kind of like tried to take control of that, but Jamar just danced to his own tempo, and Sean just couldn't quite keep up. Oh, it looks like there might have been hand contact actually by Sean there. Okay, so again, now Sean is mixing it up. Again, this is what you got to do. You got to try to catch your opponent off guard with something here. But again, Jamar is...
Dropping that lightsaber is a very risky thing to do because it leaves you fully exposed on the entire top half of your body.
Yep, and is that gambit going to pay off for him? Not so far. Like the only upside of that there is that you kind of know where your opponent is going to be attacking, so you can prepare a defense or a counter strike from it here. So it'll be interesting to see how Jamar deals with this here, because like ideally you want to kind of step to the opposite side of the saber and then kind of like dive in. So you kind of want to move away from the weapon and then cut yourself in, because you've just got the advantage of he has to move that weapon up and he has to kind of react to what you're doing. Looks like we had a messy exchange there.
Yeah, both opponents are coming in fast and just clashing with their blades just sliding all over the place, leading to a bunch of simultaneous hits.
Yep, and we don't like to reward those, so because it's mostly just a artifact of our simulation. And ooh, Sean there with a nice read of that range and manages to counter. Just does a slip and then bam, takes the head. Alright, Jamar, looks like Jamar maybe tiring out. He's been doing a lot of actions here, so he's kind of slowing it down a little here near the end. We're also running low on time.
Sean trying to do a float. It succeeded for him last time, but not this one, it looks like.
Looks like we're running low on time, though. Sean's going to want to make up this distance here. He's going to have to definitely work fast. Looks like Jamar is just content just to kind of take it at a slow pace. But ooh, manages to sneak in a hit there at the end.
Well, and that is time for our match. It looks like Johnson ended with 44 points to Holtzman's 22. Almost double lead with Johnson. Sean was really still growing up in those points, but Johnson was matching him, just growing that big divide between the point values that each player had.
Yeah, that's the risk you got to take when you're going to be that reactionary person. You know, if the other person is just a little bit faster than you and can just mix it up just enough, your game plan's just not going to work, and you're going to have to try things out, mix it up a little bit. John was definitely doing near the end there, but looked like it was just a little too late.
Well, let's go look over at the data. If we see here, Johnson was able to get that first hit about 11.4% of the time, but he had many, many more indirects than Holtzman did.
Yes, he did, and that's kind of going to be indicative of one of two things that are going on here. Either Jamar is definitely leaping into dangerous situations and just kind of like winning those races there, or Sean is the one that is like engaging in those like kind of races there, and Jamar just happened to sneak those points in first every single time.
So one of the things that I find really interesting, having fought Jamar a lot in the past, is he is really used to bolting in there and getting that. And since he hasn't been fighting for the last several months with the pandemic, you can see he was a little bit slower, but he still had that quick motion getting into the fight.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. When you stop doing something for a little while, as you know, we're all kind of being forced to do here, your brain still kind of starts to process on it there, and when you start doing it again, you won't have any bad habits. You'll just be doing it on kind of pure guttural muscle memory at that point there.
I'd wager that some of the fatigue started to play. In fact, both of our competitors were wearing a face mask as well as the fencing mask, and that I'm sure played into some of their fatigue and the tiring nature of such a fast sport. Well, let's cut to some of our post-fight interviews with both Jamar and Sean to see what they felt about this fight.
Jamar, that was an amazing fight. How are you feeling?
I am exhausted.
So talk to me about the fight. What were some of the highlights that you saw?
Sean is such a great competitor. You know, he kept me on my toes, and you know, I had to stay aggressive with him, otherwise he'll catch me on the angles. So it was a really different kind of fight given the time and the rounds. So you have to think a little bit differently, but it's definitely a great fight.
It looked exhausting, and looking forward to seeing your next fight.
See you around.
Sean, that was an amazing fight. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was a lot of work.
So what was that like, jumping into 3 rounds? It looked incredibly intense, even when the clock didn't have a lot of time on it.
Yeah, that's a lot of fighting. Usually we have a little bit different pacing, so it's a whole new game trying to balance out where you are energy-wise and whatnot. I definitely almost overestimated how much time I had, and I was like, oh, I can sit back and relax a little bit more, and I think that ended up hurting me in the end, because Jamar got those points real easy early on, and had to work real extra hard for a long time trying to make a comeback.
But speaking of comebacks, that third period, it looked fantastic. You were fighting hard to come back. I was really impressed with that.
And that concludes tonight's show. We hope you enjoyed it.
Join us next time when we will be covering a women's championship fight. Top-ranked Joanna Lewis versus Patricia the Castle Baller. What happens when an offensive powerhouse meets a defensive powerhouse? You'll just have to watch and find out. But before you go, we'd like you to know that this episode was completely made by passionate and loyal volunteers, and we'd really like to keep making and improving the Rogue series. So if you can spare a few dollars, visit our Patreon and become a patron. Otherwise, please subscribe to our channel and share this video. We'd really appreciate it. Until then, this has been Brandon Neese.
David Walker.
See you next time.